Hey everyone, Mherex here, bringing you another video. This one I'm going to be doing my boss battle prep guide. I haven't done one for a while, but feeling pretty good about this one, so I thought I'd do it. Let's start with the boost. 8 times boost on silence gems, 9 times on pyro gems, and 5 times on purple gems. So good assortment of boosts. For the most part, I think silence gems are a trap. Just go ahead and avoid silence people with one exception that I'll talk about. Pyro gems, also somewhat weirdly a trap, kind of. It's hard to explain. I'll talk more about it as I go. Purple gems will definitely be good. Boss abilities, he does a bunch of damage. It increases every turn. He's got a purple shield. It's nice when the shield matches the buff gem. That usually works out well for shield breaking. 150 purple gems is a lot. So if your team can't win turn 1, purple shield breaking will be very important. And the boss, if there's any black gems on the board, which there will be, his move damage is doubled. That's removed with neutralize. So really, the only boss breaker that's super important in this one, in my opinion, would be neutralize if you don't win turn 1. He's also going to heal. The heal's not huge, so I don't think healer steal is actually that important for the most part. Neutralize would be the boss breaker to focus on. That's under the chaotic section, as it'll remove the buff if you're going deeper into the boss's turns. Hopefully this one you don't have to. So let's take a look. This would kind of be somewhat ideal lineup, assuming you don't have a bunch of newer characters. And I know these two are newer, and this one's hard to get. So Ilia, I kind of have a different idea for him, maybe than a lot of people will. So I think a lot of people will figure triple blue, and triple blue might be great, but just looking at how the buff stacks and stuff on that move, I feel like this is going to be better because every one of the blue gems is a pyro gem with it this way. So you make 27 random gems into pyro gems, and then you make 27 pyro gems into blue. So you would get that 9 times buff, but you also have a blue gem buff here for 440%, and you can stack more of that. So I think that definitely is going to outweigh the damage from this pyro move. I think a lot of people will be like 9 times this, and you could, let's just slot it here, because I do think it's maybe potentially interesting depending how long your boss goes and things like that. So let's say you slot this, you have this same trainer set up, Batista would be clutch, and May would be clutch for that. It's doing 1.1 million. Let's see, let's call 1.1 million. Oh, and then the boss buff is for pyros is 9 times 9, 9.9 million times 27 gems. 269 million from that move, which is really good. And then you hit these moves, but they're not really buffed, right? So maybe like 500 mil, I think, triple blue. And it is 3 moves. Now, on the other hand, with this move, you pop this one in, and now all of a sudden you have a 440% buff on every one of these blue pyros. I think it gets way more interesting. Plus, if you put bad attitude on, your second time through, you're hitting this a second time. So I feel like this is by far the better moveset. Piper plate, or even better would be the LA Knight plate, right? I think either of those would be better for Ilia with this. I'm not going to go this in depth into every character that'll be good, just some of my like top picks. So that's how I'd run Ilia. I think he would probably be one of the best in this slot. Who else do I think will be worth talking about personally? Of course, anyone that makes a bunch of purple gems, you can use to break the shield, and that will be useful. So Roman, Mutant Roman here for some damage, you could run this way. 16 multiplies into purple. Not insane with All Heart, but you can still do some stuff. All Heart skill plate. And then for one that more people will have, I don't think he's going to be incredible by any stretch, but he will help with the shield and he will do some damage, will be the Great Kali. He's got the purple buff. He's got the sub to load the reds or vice versa, right? And then you got your traps here that generate purple. So he'll help breaking the shield and he'll have a buff. Plus you can use all heart to get more gem damage on him. So I think he's a little bit less rare one that a lot of people might have that'll be pretty decent. And that's kind of for focused my main ones. I could potentially be missing someone. Obviously, Inviscina could do things potentially if you have them. But anyone that generates a bunch of purples is useful. But as far as damage goes, there's not actually a lot in focus this time around for these buffs. Again, I think Silence is basically a trap, barring one character, and even Pyro is mostly. Let's move into aggressive. Great Muda will be awesome. If you have Great Muda, you've used him on purples before. I think there's potentially a few different ways. This is like the quick way, the quick, easy way. And you could run them with this, of course, with this very simple basic plate, Twilight Ritual plate. If you're a gambler, you could replace the sub in here. And if you can get this all loaded turn one, you could use Mellow here and then some match, like blue starting board and NWO Hogan to get the finisher with Mellow. Then you can hit potential purple multiply gems. So that's a really good option as well. Because with 36 on the board, you're probably getting a few purple multiplies. So you could go for that too with Muda, either one of those sets. Let's see. Aggressive actually has a lot of choices when I was going through it. That should be somewhat decent. Braun Breaker, again, not the easiest load in the world, but like I would run Mellow, and then if you had a I believe it's Eternal Positivity, black to purple, along with NWO Hogan, just run Mellow. And none of this will be charged, but then with a black swipe with Mellow and NWO Hogan. So you could run Sherry that way, and it'd be similar to your feud damage. Anyway, with a black swipe, it'll, and Eternal Positivity, it'll load the spear, and then with NWO Hogan, it'll load the finisher. Then you can hit the buff, choose your multiplies, and then hit the spear with the 6 times buff. So if you have him gold and you know what he typically does in feud for you, probably like, close to 6 times that. So he should be pretty good damage that way. Maybe sometimes difficult to load though. So there's that. You could also set him up if you wanted to, strictly to break the shield and much safer without the multiplies. And you could do, how would I run him? It's been a minute since looking at something else. I guess you just run the Snowfall instead. Like this. Of the multiplies. And you could keep the buff and potentially keep hitting stuff. So that's an option too with Braun. Sorry. Still waking up. And, Ali, potentially really good this way. Although Juggernaut obviously can make things slow. This is really hard to get turn 1. But depending on gear moments and stuff, you could hit ridiculously hard with this. Your trainers would be wide open with gear. But again, timing with the jugs can be really hard to get everything turn 1, so you could run Ali that way. And potentially be very, very strong solo with the drip plate. Be very strong with this traditional moveset. Getting those out and recycles, so you could run solo with the drip. A lot of choices in aggressive, actually. Umaga, you could run. Eternal Positivity is probably easiest, but I'm sure you could do stuff with the drip plate as well if you wanted to, and then maybe you change out the stun for like these traps and don't actually place them because you don't need the stun in this mode, right? So you could definitely run Umaga, drip or Eternal Positivity, something like that, I would think. And he would be pretty good, or Big Ugly, as my buddy likes to call him. No disrespect intended when it's an endearing Big Ugly, because I'm a Big Ugly. Hogan's always good for the shield. Powerhouse Hogan with the wildcard gems. So he's always a good shield option. Now, Brutus theoretically would be good, but his finisher isn't working right as far as I can tell. and traps and purple gems haven't been working on the shield. So let me know, like, if you run him this way, if your traps are working on the shield. But traps have been really funky on the shield. So like him, Akam, things like that have not really been counting on shield so far as I can tell. So Brutus I'd be very leery about, and the buff on his finisher isn't actually really working, so I expect him to be kind of poo-poo. You're welcome to try. Maybe it's working now. I don't think so. Just know that that's a thing, and I think they're, as far as I know, they're looking into it. I sent some video last week, I think it was. So hopefully we can get that fixed. Who else? I think that might be most of aggressive. Oh, Batista, kind of interesting. 99 MP. He, of course, can generate all these pyro gems and recycle, so that's a 9 times boost. If you want to know how hard he'll hit, run your setup, and then, well, basically, not quite, but basically you can sort of, kind of multiply it. Probably not by 9 because it also blows up the board. So you could do that. Another thing that's really interesting with Batista, especially if you have, like, Kofi during 99 MP, is these power gems get really huge. So if you're in a faction and you're not necessarily winning turn 1, Batista could absolutely ramp these up massively. So throw Kofi on, throw all your power gem trainers on, run these 2 moves, and then just keep swiping and putting Juggernaut gems out. And once your power gems get to a certain strength, you could just keep swiping like crazy. So like on turn 2 of the boss, you probably could just be swiping for big damage. So big damn. So that's kind of 2 different ways for Batista. I actually personally like the power gem set if you're going into turn 2. He might, and I don't think he would be wasted leveling up either. So like at 6-star gold, I don't feel like he would be a waste because he's got a lot of stuff he can do in kind of a weak era. So Batista would kind of be a really sneaky good budget pick with the way his power gems work. He's sort of like an upgraded King Macho, actually, with that. And in particular in boss where you're not getting hit, I think you could ramp his power gems really, really large. If somebody ends up trying that, let me know after boss. Let me know how big you got Batista, because I'm quite curious. So he's kind of like a good free sleeper pick with a couple different ways you could go. This slot, I love Julius. I did a video on him if you want to see how to play it, with the multiplies, the setup, that kind of thing. So love Julius this way. Trap, buff, blue. OTC Tribal Chief will be redonkulous if you have him with 99 MP. I mean, that's just going to one-shot. You're going to click these 2 buttons, these 3 buttons, and the boss is going to be dead if you have OTC. So congratulations to you and your faction. OTC is a 1-click killer, or 3-click killer, actually. Freaking this dude, Tuso, will be ridiculous, especially with gear. But, I mean, you don't have to worry about the cascading. You get a bunch of big multiplies. You turn the whole board purple. I mean, it's just, yeah. Especially if you have not Steiner's glasses. I do that all the time. Bubba's glasses on Tuso there. So he'll be crazy good. And Mo in my faction will, like, do serious damage with Tuso. He'll carry easily turn 1 with Tuso. Who else did I go by? There's a few people in Chaotic. Macho. Macho's, again, Juggernauts, be conscious of that. This turns all of your multiplies into purple, but Juggernauts take some time to resolve. If you can get this to work out right, where everything is loaded, you can put these down, the 4 rows. Let's see, how many is that? That's 28. It's a little bit, it's too bad you can't choose this because the sub will overwrite some of it, but you can get a bunch of multiplies down this way. And then make your purples here with your Juggernauts. So, ideally, if you could run Striker Goldberg and make 30 multiplies into purple, it would help this build a lot, I think. So, but there's a Macho build. Just be really careful, actually, when you're doing this, that you do all of this before you put your jugs out so they don't get overwritten, because there's more then there's more multiplies than there's space for, so it will overwrite your jugs. Okay. Who else do we have? Oh, Logan can do some stuff. I kind of bypassed him when I was setting this up, so I don't have his moves, but he can do some purple stuff, yeah. The pyros go purple. There's multiplies on the board. It's a showboat, so you increase the strength of your multiplies. Logan is actually going to be sneaky good. I might mess with him just for fun because he was my gold pull. He could be really good for purple boss potentially, especially showboat with the class advantage hardcore buff, and that does work in boss, by the way. A lot of good choices in chaotic, really. I think a lot of people are going to be like, Tama Tonga with plate. Nah, he's not going to hit hard. Don't do it. I tell you right now, the buff isn't enough with the way that is for 34 leech gems. You'll be lucky if you top 60 million. Honestly, better for Tama. You want to use Tama Tonga, use his move damage set with the buff and just keep cycling it. That'll be way better than his purple set, even with his plate. Just saying. Although his purple set will help with the shield. So, great for the shield. Speaking of shields, absolute fantastic shield destroyer. When it comes to the shield, you just spam this one move. Devon can take the shield down super fast. Also, it's a showboat, so his hardcore move is in play, which will make him generate 18 multiply gems. And then being boss, I love the sub build for boss with all heart. And again, Bubba's glasses if you have it. This will hit pretty dang hard too. Devon will be great. Really, really solid choice. What else did I have? There is a lot in chaotic too. Just for funsies. I don't think you'll be amazing, but you know, R-Truth always deserves some love. You can run this purple buff. The area is too small at 4x1. And the buff just isn't quite enough. If you really want to risk it and try loading the blues, you could also get this buff too and get a little bit more going on. But the nice thing with this one is you actually can keep growing the finisher buff. So potentially by turn 2, you're maybe doing a little bit more. I don't know. I wouldn't call him great, but he's R-Truth, so I wanted to mention him, and he could be fun, and he can break the shield a little bit. 4x1 isn't a ton, so not a great shield breaker, but you know, R-Truth. So let's show R-Truth some love. He's a national treasure. Again, anyone that generates a ton of purple gems is good for the shield. Kind of a budget pick here that could be really interesting is this set. So if you get all of this loaded before you start, and then you put the multiplies on the bottom 3 rows, and then you put the sleeper holdout, all of your pyros that turn into purple, or your snowfall, I'm sorry, not pyros, snowfalls go down, that turn into purple, will be above the multiplies. So then you can choose across the top row with the choose, and it'll blow up, and all the purples will go into the multiplies. So like getting it loaded first and then doing that, put the multiplies on the bottom 3, hit the sleeper hold, and then choose across the top row will recycle all of the moves for you. And he'll hit like really hard with all heart plate. So there's kind of a one everyone has, sleeper pick kind of one there that could be really good and also help with the shield significantly. I think Wes was the last one I had here. Oh, yeah, no, that was he the last one I had here? Again, I'm not going to mention anyone that can make a bunch of purples. So defensive is the worst, probably, slot. If you have solo will be insane for this one. Increase your blue. You don't even need this the first time through, so you're just going to make 40 random into purple pyros, and then it's going to be a purple buff. So he's got the purple buff, he's got the pyro buff, and then he has the buff. Those 2 clicks are going to be redonkulous. This is in if it needs to go a second cycle, but this will be super fast. Solo is easily the best in defensive if you have him. I obviously don't. I'm on the CC account for this. Jacob will be fan-freaking-tastic. A couple different ways you can do it. You could run it with the headbutt, big boot, moonsault, or you could put the sub in, again with all heart for the buff, and run the sub-a-dub-dub, right? So yeah, really whatever you want to do. I would probably just run it this way, so just because it's me and I'm weird and I don't, but let's see. After that, kind of like a more of a budget pick, Dom, he's really slow, sadly, because Three Amigos is so slow. But he can make 28 traps into purple, so he can help with the shield. And then after you get loaded, potentially with the sub, choosing, because it's low charge, then you're just clicking these two moves to help with the shield. But Three Amigos is such a slow animation, it's not sped up in this version of Dom, that it's really hard to get a lot out of him. So he's an okay shield breaker in a slot that doesn't have a lot of good options, so I thought I would mention him, and a decent amount of people have him. The other one that's interesting, and I'm going to do some gameplay with him, is I probably have been underselling him a little bit during the week, is Gunther. Zombie Gunther. In thinking about him, because silence is pretty much always usually a trap. In this case, I think Gunther could be really solid, and he'll be obviously fantastic with the shield. Fifth element, I think I told you on stream, I didn't think so. For damage, pretty sure I was wrong. So if you see this fifth element, I played him a little bit more, was messing around with him, and I'm like, you know, I think his damage will actually be pretty solid. Where do I want to go? I want to go here, here. No, wrong one. I thought it was hard mode here. Yeah, here. Kind of, whoops, helps we put the U in there. Walk you guys through Gunther. I find him here. All right. Hand of Gunther is really nice and important for this setup. All heart, Hand of Gunther. This is a 50% strap for what it's worth with Fury 2s. But Hand of Gunther, whenever you make 6 or more sub gems, gain 3 purple and 3 yellow MP. That lets you get away with a lot for getting him loaded and keeping your sub gems down. Now, the way I would run him for boss is not with Lawler. If you have him Acro Hogan, Zombie Hogan right here will give 50% silence gem damage. So let me just go ahead and put him in real quick. Actually, load out. I saved it right here. Okay, so Gunther with this setup is going to do 240k per silence gem. We have an 8 times silence gem buff, so 240 times 8 is 1.9 million. And there's going to be 44 silence gems on the board when you hit this move. So 1.9 million times 44. That's 84 million, which is not necessarily a ton, but it's not terrible. And then after that, he will still have 44 silence gems on the board that he's going to turn purple. So you're basically, when you blow up those 44 gems, you're going to get the purple and the silence buff for 1300% on top of what you normally hit. And now I can't show you keeping every gem, right? It's impossible. Or with Hogan, but what I can do is get as close as I can, and hopefully Otis won't destroy many silence gems here. And this is a silver, so we can double the damage, and then we can times it by the 1300%, and that'll kind of give you an idea potentially of how hard Gunther can hit after the 84 million. So you'll hit the sub, you get the 100% all heart buff. Otis destroyed 3 there, and then he destroyed 9, so we're 9 short, and then a bunch more. So this one is gonna hit whatever it hits. Here, 11 million. And so we missed 9, so we would actually hit harder than this, but let's just see what this does. So that was 8 million gem damage. That would be 16 million at gold. 16 times what was it, like 1300%, so 13, 208 million. So a cycle, I think you could maybe go upwards of 300 million a cycle with Gunther at gold if you had him set up this way. So yeah, fifth element, I guess I was wrong about that because I think 300 million is decent. I think this is fast enough. You could get to probably 2 cycles down in a turn, so that's like 600 million. That's not nothing. It's not gonna turn 1 the boss, but it's a substantial amount of damage, plus he's great against the shield and a defensive option that's not strong. So I think he is a great choice. So kind of to recap real quick now, this is a long video, 26 minutes. When we go into this, I love Ilia, kind of sneaky with the buff. Love Muda, love Julius. Obviously love these two who a lot won't have at this point. I don't have either of them. Zombie Gunther's a really good pick. You could potentially use Zombie Dom. I don't, or not Zombie Dom, Dom. I don't encourage taking Dom to gold. I don't think that's a good move. Gunther is kind of iffy for gold, but if you have the hand of Gunther and if you're fine with sub gameplay and Trickster not being super deep, you can see how hard, how much damage I was doing on like Otis when things went right with the setup that I ran, and you would double that. So he's like a kind of a 1 or 2 cycle win at Trickster. He's really not bad at all with that setup with the right trainers and plates and stuff. So he's certainly usable. So I don't mind him at gold, plus zombies are fun. And then there is just a ton here. Obviously OTC if you have him. I don't. Tuso with gear or without gear will be great, but gear better if you have him. I don't. Logan could be interesting. BPP. Did I say BPP? I can't remember if I did. Triple purple BPP if I didn't, because he'll be really good. Yeah, just there's a lot of standout people for this boss. Aggressive had a bunch. Not going to go through them all again, but Muda, like for, I still don't have Muda either. Funny enough. These two, Muda, Gunther, is probably the ones more people have. That's not saying everyone, because I know a lot of them are super rare, right? But anyway, that's my boss breakdown. Maybe I'll start doing these again. I kind of missed doing them. This one was pretty fun. And I felt very comfortable with talking about Purple Boss. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you want to keep me to keep doing these again? Go back to doing them again. Other than that, guys, good luck this boss weekend. Have a lot of fun. And thanks for watching. I appreciate the support. Whew. A lot of yippee yapping.